Okay, so last night, as the US futures opened, you got a massive dip in Bitcoin. You went from about 118,000 and we bottomed at around 114,721. And as soon as that happened, everyone turned bearish. It was crazy. The sentiment turned very, very, very fast. People were talking about beyond oversold. They were talking about everything. They were talking about a correction starting. The bubbles turned completely red. And today what I want to do is I actually want to unpack the actual reason for this dip. And I think when you see the actual reason for this dip, it's not what you think. It's something completely different. And we need to unpack it. It's very important that we unpack it. So we're going to unpack why this market is actually dipping. And then at the end of it, I'm going to show you a few tokens that if this market does dip low enough, then I'm definitely going to start buying them. So listen, if that sounds good to you, and if you want to know exactly why the market's dipped, you're at the right place. Let's get going, guys. Tell you one thing, it was a crazy dip, and the reason why it was a crazy dip is because it wasn't like normal dips where we knew exactly what happened. This dip remains largely unexplained to most people. I'm going to show you all the different factors causing this dip, and you know why a lot of people aren't getting it. Also, as I said, I'm going to show you 5 tokens to buy, and I'm actually going to set up some bots on those tokens a bit later in the show today for those of you who want to stick around till the end. For those of you that are here, I see you guys all in the chat. I see Brian, I see Dylan, I see everybody here. Obliterate the like button. Also, remember, guys, if you're not already subscribed, what are you waiting for? Let's try get this thing to 1.175 million. We need to try and get this up to 1.175 million. 𝗪𝗫, have you seen my little balls? Okay. Yeah, okay, amazing. All right, so yeah, let's get straight into it. Let's get straight into why this market's actually dipping, and I think it's gonna be a lot more confusing than we actually think. So let's actually look at all the data that we have. Let's look at the facts that we have on hand. So here's what actually happened. The US futures market opens exactly at that point over there in the chart, right? That's pretty much where the US markets actually open. And when the US markets actually opened, the futures opened, we were trading at 118,000, and then bam, you had these like hour after hour, the candles actually dropping, and we got down to a low of about 114,000. That's pretty much where it was, and that's when the market turned completely bearish. Now, initially, we thought this might be something related to markets. Why? When I say markets, I mean traditional markets, equity markets, TradeFi markets. The reason why we thought that is because it happened as soon as the futures opened. And so generally, when you get Bitcoin dropping when the futures opens, it means that when the US futures markets open, something happened in the markets. And whatever happened in the markets had an effect on crypto. And crypto just responded much stronger or much harder than the actual TradeFi markets. But it's not like that, because if you look at the TradeFi markets and you go specifically to Sunday over here, which is more or less, this is where the futures markets actually opened. You can actually see that the TradeFi markets were actually, for all intents and purposes, they were pretty green, right? They were pretty green. Nothing actually happened. Even if you look at the TradeFi markets now, down 0.13%. It's definitely not something to do with TradeFi. If it was something to do with TradeFi, it could have been like one of two things. So when I looked at Twitter and I looked for people trying to attribute this dip to something and specifically pointing it in the direction of TradeFi, there were two things that people were mainly speaking about. The first one was around this Zelensky, Trump, Putin peace negotiations, and maybe those had fallen through, or maybe something happened on those negotiations. The other one was a big symposium, which is happening, a Fed symposium, which is actually happening at Jackson Hole this week. And a lot of people think that the market was just front running the news that they may be getting at Jackson Hole, but it's actually it's not that. And if you look right now at the TradeFi markets are pretty flat. There's not much going on there, and it's not actually even in the States. If you look all around the world, and you look at the TradeFi markets, wow, look at how many ads these guys have got. Look at all the TradeFi markets. It's like a pretty mixed bag. There's not much going on here. Like 𝗙𝗫's down 0.04%. Pretty much nothing's happening. So this seems like it's very much confined to crypto. This is not a TradeFi big something's wrong, etc., etc. This is something to do with crypto. And so we need to get into all the different things that it could be in the crypto market to unravel whether this is the beginning of a bigger correction or whether this is like a nothing burger, a little blip in the radar, and we're going to carry on going up. before we do that, let's just quickly look at the two macro factors that we spoke about, the two TradeFi factors that could be affecting markets, because they could actually be affecting markets. So let's quickly just look at them. The first one is, as you guys all know, because I think you guys have all been been on Twitter, we had Trump meet Putin to try and broker a peace deal, or actually a ceasefire, but it turns out it might actually turn out into a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine. And so he met with Putin, and they met in Alaska of all places. I mean, you gotta take your hat off to Trump, how he displays strength and power. So this is what happened. Try and get the volume down a bit. And he flew the stealth bomber right over Putin's head. Okay, so like that's almost like a big show of power as Putin landed. That was Putin's welcome. And so what people thought, well, initially they wanted to broker a ceasefire. Turns out that what President Trump is actually brokering, he's actually brokering a long-lasting peace deal, right? And when they finished the trade talks, he kind of said, look, this is one of the best meetings they've ever had. He said they didn't agree on everything, but they are very, very, very close to an actual peace deal, which was like, that was not something that we had on our bingo cards for Friday, right?
But especially this one right over here. But we had some good meetings over the years, right? Good productive meetings over the years. And we hope to have that in the future. But let's do the most productive one right now. We're going to stop really 5, 6, 7,000, thousands of people a week from being killed. And President Putin wants to see that as much as I do. So, again, Mr. President, I'd like to thank you very much. And we'll speak to you very soon and probably see you again very soon. Thank you very much, Vladimir.
Next time in Moscow.
Oh, that's an interesting one. I don't know. I'll get a little heat on that one, but
I mean, he spoke in fluent English. Next time in Moscow, and Trump obviously batted it off. When they initially met, when they first met, the chances of a peace deal were very, very, very low. Then they went up, but then they started coming down again. And I'll show you why they started coming down again, right? When they started talking on Friday, I sent this message to our researchers. I said, do you think that the market's actually priced in peace between Russia and Ukraine? The answer is, I don't think that the market had priced in anything, because the market didn't actually move when they came out with this good news that there may actually be peace in the market. So where are they at the moment? Well, there could be a peace deal, but I don't know. I don't know so much, and I'll tell you why. So they came to a place here that Putin told Trump that they could come to a peace deal if Ukraine hands over the Donetsk region, which is one of the regions, right? So if Ukraine hands over those regions, Putin's saying there could be a peace deal. And that is what the market priced in on Friday. Then the problem is that over the weekend, Zelensky came out and he basically said, in a nutshell, he said, look, we're willing to do any peace deal, but we're not giving away any of that land because that's unconstitutional, he says.
Russia is still unsuccessful in Donetsk region. Putin has been unable to take it for 12 years. And the constitution of Ukraine makes it impossible to give up territory or trade land. Since the territorial issue is so important, it should be discussed only by the leaders of Ukraine and Russia at the trilateral Ukraine, United States, Russia. So far, Russia gives no sign that trilateral will...
So long story short, Trump and Putin meet and they say, look, we can actually resolve this. Zelensky says, no, you can't resolve this unless I'm sitting in the room and we decide, and we're not giving away land because that's not part of the constitution. And now what he's done is he's rallied all his EU mates, right? So he's got all the EU mates coming in there saying, 𝗔𝗿𝗆 actually said something like, Ukraine must be a steel porcupine where people must not want to attack it or not want to eat it because, I mean, crazy. Anyway, so maybe now the probabilities of a peace deal have actually gone down. But let me tell you why I'm not too worried about this, right? Because as you know, the US has been funding this war with between Putin and between Zelensky and Putin, right? And it's very simple for Trump to say, listen, either you accept this deal or we stop funding you and then you're basically on your own. And that's something that could happen. And so now there's a whole lot of meetings today in Washington and whatever else, but I don't think that that's affecting the markets, and I don't think that that's what's causing the crypto markets to crash. Let's go into theory number 2. There's a big symposium at Jackson Hole this week. The Fed's going to speak, and the market is front-running everything that Jerome Powell is going to say on Friday, and the market is nervous. great, dummy. If that was the case, then surely TradeFi would be the first one to respond, right? And when I say dummy, you know exactly what I'm talking to, right? So you know that if this was about front-running what the Fed was going to say on Friday and this massive policy change that all of a sudden the Fed was going to have on Friday, surely the first markets that would actually be affected would be the TradeFi markets, right? Well, TradeFi hasn't moved at all. So I don't know. So it's definitely not what's happening in Jackson Hole. Now be careful when you say Jackson Hole, it's Jackson Hole. I've heard a lot of you talking about it as Jackson's Hole. It's got nothing to do with Jackson's Hole. It's Jackson Hole. It's a place in Wyoming, right? So it's not about what's happening there. I don't think Powell may also drop some hints about the Fed's thinking ahead of its September policy meeting. Officials have left interest rates on hold so far this year as they wait to see how the Trump administration's blah, 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 blah. Okay, guys, you know that Powell is reducing rates in September. If not, I think the whole Fed board is going to resign. Yes, we had high PPI numbers, but the CPI numbers were low. The jobs numbers were an absolute mess. Powell is reducing rates in September. Right now, if you look at the chart, there's an 82% chance that he's reducing rates and 17.4% chance that he's not. Guys, nothing that Trump says on Friday or over this symposium is going to change the fact that there's a rate cut on Friday, and we pretty much know the Fed's stance. So I doubt that the crypto markets all of a sudden front running this. So that's definitely not that. There are a few. Now I want to move our attention more towards our markets, the crypto markets. Now let's actually look at the crypto markets. First of all, I want to say that there was something interesting that was happening last week, which no one could actually explain. And it was very, very, very strange movement. What we had last week was we had the MicroStrategy share actually start coming down. So you can see the share was trading at about $410 last Monday. And then it started coming down. But at the same time, Bitcoin was actually going up. So if you look at the Bitcoin price on those days, so from last week, Monday, see the price of Bitcoin actually went up where MicroStrategy was actually coming down, right? And so a lot of people were pretty confused about what was going on. And the big question is whether this was like a canary in the coal mine, whether the Wall Street market was front running a dip that they kind of knew was coming by shorting MicroStrategy or exiting their MicroStrategy position. That's one of the things that we do have to pay attention to. Just while we're on MicroStrategy, remember that MicroStrategy said that they wouldn't issue any more MicroStrategy shares unless they were trading at above a certain NAV. Well, they came out and they clarified that today. And the clarification actually seems to be much more favorable than the initial statement that was published, right? So Irishman actually published something today in Frontrunners, and he said, MicroStrategy just amended so they are able to issue at a lower NAV now when advantageous. Weird wording, but I don't think they realized the news of them not being able to tap into the 2.5 NAV was a little hard. So he says basically technical jargon, but actually what we're getting now is we're getting a slightly better situation. So it's not TradeFi actually front running the crypto markets. The next theory that I've heard is this a leverage flush? Is this like a leverage flush? Don't worry, the reason why crypto is correcting is because there's a leverage flush. Yeah, okay. But usually we have leverage flushes when there's a lot of leverage and when funding is very, very, very overheated. There wasn't a big leverage flush. The prices did come down. Only $500 million was wrecked. I know it's $500 million is still a lot of money, but it's not big numbers for a leverage flush, right? Also, if you look at funding wasn't overheated, right? So it's not like we were like due this big leverage flush that we were all of a sudden supposed to have, right? There's a lot of leverage, but the market's actually growing, right? And it's not like the leverage, the funding rates were yellow or high, and so we needed to get a leverage flush. So it wasn't a leverage flush. If your theory was this is a much needed leverage flush, it wasn't actually a leverage flush. The next thing that I'm seeing, the next reason for this correction that I'm seeing from the geniuses on crypto Twitter and actually in a lot of other places, right, is I'm seeing people saying that someone knows something. And the reason why someone knows something is because just look at the leveraged short positions on ETH. Leveraged short positions on ETH have never, ever, ever been higher. I mean, this is a very scary chart. What it shows is that right now, this is how many leveraged shorts are on ETH. Yes, okay. There are a lot of leveraged shorts on ETH right now. But they're not telling you the whole story. And the reason why they're not telling you the whole story is because they're just showing you this leverage chart and they're saying ETH leverage shorts just hit a record high. Spikes like this don't end well for the crowd. History shows the squeeze always comes. Okay, there's not going to be a squeeze. And I'm going to explain to you why there are not actually a lot of leverage shorts and why there isn't actually going to be a squeeze. So there are two reasons right now why this chart here shows a whole lot of leverage short positions on ETH. Now pay attention now because it's a little bit complicated, but this is something that you really have to understand because a lot of people don't understand it. I mean, yeah, a lot of people. I'm not going to mention people by names, right? The first thing is that right now we have a big staking queue to get out of ETH, right? So what happens with ETH is if you are staking your ETH and you want to sell your ETH, you have to unstake your ETH. And what happens here is when you unstake your ETH, then what happens is that you need to wait a certain number of days. In this case, it says it'll take 12 days to unstake 2.1% of all the staked ETH. Okay, amazing. I get it. So what do these people do? They want to lock in a price, right? When they look at the ETH chart and they say, wow, hold on, ETH has just hit a high price in this chart, which is here at 4,800, which is, by the way, the previous all-time high, right? So when ETH gets to 4,800, which is the previous all-time high, and people unstake their ETH, they want to lock in that price, right? But they can't lock in that price. And the reason why they can't lock in that price is because the ETH is staked. And it's staked and it's got a 12-day queue to unstake. So what do you do? Because you now have an ETH long position. What you do is you go to the CME or you go to the futures exchange and you open up a short on ETH. And so what you've done is you've basically locked in your price. You know you are getting your ETH unstaked from the exchange. You open up a short, and then when you get your ETH unstaked, you close that. You sell your spot position, and you close your futures position. And that way, you've basically locked in a price. That's reason number one why there's such a big amount of ETH at the moment, why there's so many shorts on ETH. The second reason, and again, this is quite technical, but just follow my lead here. So what you realize here is that on the CME over here, on the CME, there is an interest rate, an implied interest rate that longs pay shorts or shorts pay longs on taking leverage. So long story short, either longs, in other words, you want to take a position on ETH, and so what you do is you pay the shorters a fee, a monthly fee or an annual fee to take a position on ETH, right? So like when you want to take a position, you loan money from the other side. So if you want to go long, you loan money from the shorters. If you want to go short, you loan money from people who are long. Every time that this rate over here goes above the risk-free rate, and let's say the risk-free rate for all intents and purposes is about 5%, then all of a sudden it's worth your while to go short here, collect the 9.88% and go long ETH, right? And so what the trade there is saying, as long as this rate here is bigger than the risk-free rate, then it pays you to go short ETH, and then you're collecting 11.14%, and then you're buying ETH, and then you basically your trade is actually hedged. So those are the two reasons why you've got massive ETH shorts, and none of these shorts are going to lead to a short squeeze because both of them are hedged shorts. The first one is hedged by the tokens that are coming out of the unstaking queue. And the second one is hedged with a spot position because you're going long ETH, short futures, and you're collecting the premium. You're borrowing money at like 5% or whatever else, and you're collecting 9%, and you're locking in 4%. And that's like the best trade in the world. TradeFi funds will repeat that over and over and over and over again. You can literally go to Velo and you can see right now, the shorts are paying the longs 11%. You can borrow at the risk-free. You can either invest your money at the risk-free rate, or you can just buy ETH spot, short ETH futures, and collect the premium, the difference. What are you going to do? Obviously, you're going to do that. You're going to do that trade, and you're going to rinse and repeat that trade 100 times until that thing will eventually close. And that's why this is happening. So no one knows anything. No one knows anything. No one is going to all of a sudden liquidate a whole lot of ETH. No one has inside information here. No one is taking excessive shorts on ETH. These are carry trades. These are Wall Street and TradeFi looking to capture 2 or 3% or 4% yield. That's all that basically is. So don't fall for that bullshit. Don't fall for the Jackson Hole bullshit. Don't fall Jackson's Hole. Don't fall Jackson Hole, not Jackson's Hole. Don't fall for the it's about the Russia-Ukraine peace deal. Don't fall for it's a leverage flash. It's not a leverage flash. Don't fall for someone knows something. There's a massive short squeeze about to happen on ETH. Bullshit. It's not going to happen. All right. So then, what is this? What is this correction? Maybe it's the end of the bull market. Okay. Now I want to just show you this. I know you're laughing. But actually, very, very, very astute investors, which are going to actually. Peter Brandt actually said something. He said there's like a 30% chance that this is the end of the Bitcoin bull market. And this is like one of the best investors in the world, right? One of the best chartists in the world. He tweeted something. I'm going to try to find this for you. I've got to try and find this for you if I can find it. He said in a tweet, he said there is a 30% chance that this. Yeah, here we go. I think that there's a 30% chance that Bitcoin has stopped. Here we go. I think there's a 30% chance that Bitcoin has stopped for this bull market cycle. Next up, back to 60 or 70K by November 26. He says that is, he talks about that being a 30% chance, right? Now, yeah, okay, maybe 30%. Okay, like, you know, when you want to say something, but like you're not 100% sure, which I'm 30% sure. 30% sure means, okay, bro, are you saying it's the end or it's not the end? It's not the end of the bull market. I'll tell you how I know it's not the end of the bull market. I've been here for end of bull market, right? When you get end of bull markets, you get a whole lot of indicators that kind of tell you that there's froth in the market, that people are taking excess leverage, that people are speculating on crazy altcoins. 100% of the indicators right now are saying it's not the end of the bull market, right? It's not the end of the bull market. In fact, yeah, it's not even the end of the bull market if you look at it like this. In fact, if anything, we're about to go into an acceleration stage of the bull market. Now, you can see it with this chart over here, which I'll spend some time talking about in a couple of days. But every time that you get the 200-day SMA reaching a milestone, like, so for example, when the 200-day SMA went above 1,000, Bitcoin's price was higher than 1,000, then you got another leg up. When it went over 10,000, Bitcoin flew up. And now it's just gone over 100,000 for the first time. So if history repeats, we're just at the beginning of the last part of the bull market, actually, right? Also, when cycles end, they end with extreme euphoria. Crazy euphoria. They don't end when the fear and greed is on 64. That's not how cycles end. I've been here for cycle ends. There are no cycle ends. Okay, which basically says, okay, then there's actually one more explanation as to why this is actually happening, right? And that's very simple, right? We are due a correction. We are due a correction in September. Ben Khan's been talking about this correction coming in September, October. And actually what he says is like, we're due a correction in September. And so what a lot of people are saying is they are saying that the correction has started early. Okay, that's fine. I can live with that. But I remember Bitcoin corrections and how they start, right? And the one thing I can tell you about these corrections when they start, and I'll take you back there on this chart over here in 2021 so that you guys can see how these corrections start. They start like that, okay? You see how quickly? This was one day. They start like that. 16%, 17, 18, 19% in a day. Leverage cascades, leverage flashes. That's how these corrections actually start, okay? This is not that. Usually when these corrections start, I guarantee you, let's actually look here. We are talking about the 8th of September, 2021. I guarantee you, if I go to the fear and greed chart, 8th of September, 2021, it's at extreme greed. Let's take that bet. 8th of September, 2021. Let's see if I can even get to 8th of September, 2021 with this chart. If I can, okay. June, July, August, September 2021. Where is the fear and greed index? Okay, where is that fear and greed index? August, August, yeah. It is it's high. It's at 72. It's just touching extreme greed. There's no extreme greed in this market at the moment. And so, I mean, look, it could be that the correction is actually starting a bit early. And if it is starting a bit early, then okay, fine, I get it. But I don't know. Usually when corrections start, it looks much more scary than Bitcoin going 2% down in a day. Like it looks like. This is how the September correction started in September. And we went down and then we consolidated and then we went down again. and then we hit the bottom of that correction, and it took us from top to bottom. It took us 13 days. Okay, that is a bull market correction. Look, I may be wrong, and we may be in the beginning of a correction, but generally corrections don't start like this, and they don't stop and wait for you at 2% down, because like Bitcoin's only 2% down. So like, imagine like a correction that said, guys, we're having a correction. Anyone who wants to get off, toot, 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 toot. You can get off here. Next up, I'll wait. It doesn't work like that. What generally happens, right? What generally happens is it gives you that whack, and then it recovers to fool you, and then it gives you another whack. That is what a bull market correction actually looks like. 2021 correction. Here it is. Let's just quickly go to it. You can even see it in these corrections. Like, yeah, look at this correction in 2024. You see? Okay, you went bang, recover. Look at 2021. Let's go back to 2021 here. Okay, bang, recover. Oh, we're going back up again. Put in a higher low. Bang, gets you out. Okay, that's what a correction looks like. So it's not that. It's not a correction. So then what is it? You know what I think it is? I think it's actually nothing. I think it's just a nothing burger. I think Bitcoin's down 2%. And I don't think you should panic when Bitcoin is down 2%. Literally. Like, hold your horses, okay? We went up so aggressively, and we are back. We went down 2% in a day. And 2% to me doesn't feel like it's anything to panic about. And everyone that's speculating that this is the beginning of a big correction and we're losing key levels, I think you may be right, but I need to see some more confirmation of that. Because otherwise, all I can summarize is that we've gone down 2%. And maybe 𝗙𝗘𝗔𝗧𝗨 is actually right here when he says, look, let's look at the 50-day moving average, and we're testing it and see if we actually bounce off the 50-day moving average, right? So, sorry, it's a 50-day EMA, and see if we actually bounce here. Let's see if maybe Bitcoin is just turning 7 years of a worth of resistance into support. And then let's make the calls. But I mean, to jump now when we're at we're in no man's land. We're in absolute no man's land. To jump in the middle of no man's land and to say, okay, this is the beginning of a huge correction when Bitcoin's down 2%. 2%. I don't know, guys. We down 4% from the highs of last week. 5% from the highs of last week. That's not the big correction. I do believe we'll see corrections. Don't get me wrong. I do believe we'll see corrections. And you know what? Maybe this will turn into the correction. But I'm not ready right now to say that this is the beginning of a huge correction. Because there's nothing fundamentally wrong. There's not too much leverage on chain. The funding rates aren't high. The exuberance isn't high. That's not when the big corrections come. The big corrections come when all of those indicators are against us, and none of those indicators are for us. So I want to talk about a couple of coins that have relative strength now, because I think it's worth talking about the coins that have relative strength. Now, again, I'm not telling you to go and buy these things up insatiably. Like, that's not what I'm telling you guys to do. But it is worth noting that if this bounces, then there are a couple of coins that you definitely want to be in. I'm going to go through them very quickly today. We're not doing deep dives today. Today is not that day, right? So the first one that I want to talk about is Chainlink. Chainlink, look at Chainlink from the top. So the weekend, Chainlink had an amazing weekend, right? Look at Chainlink on the weekend. So it started the weekend over here at 21.66. It went to 22 on Saturday, and then it went to 20. It wicked to 26.30 on Sunday. Even after this correction, Chainlink is trading at 25.25. You need to have Chainlink in your portfolio now because it's showing incredible relative strength relative to the market. This thing is solid. It could be because of the reserve. It could be because of the narrative. It doesn't matter. That we can do in a separate Chainlink show. All I'm telling you is that I'm building a massive monster position of Chainlink. And you may say, oh, but you're jumping on this train late. Look, number one, I've had Chainlink in my portfolio for a long time. So there's nothing new here. Number two, all I'm doing is I'm selling a whole lot of other stuff and I'm just getting a little bit more Chainlink because look how resilient it is. Second one that I think is very much worth buying is Athena. So Athena's making all the right noises at the moment, right? What are the right noises? Number one, their fundamentals, the number of coins has actually doubled. The supply has doubled. So from $6 billion to $11 billion. And that's in the last 30 days. In the last 30 days, Athena stablecoins have doubled. They're talking about some collaboration with Athena, and they're calling it Hyena Trade. Looks like Athena may be teasing a perps DEX based on Hyperliquid and called Hyena Trade, like Hyperliquid and Athena, Hyena Trade. Okay, that's all good and well. That's not why I'm buying it. Okay, I'm going to tell you exactly why I'm buying it. Because we know, because we are part of lots of trading groups, that there is a big whale, right? And this whale is putting up like almost $1 billion into the Athena treasury company, right? And in that $1 billion is going to be used up to buy Athena. Okay, so everyone knows about this. Well, not everyone knows about it. In the underground, everyone's talking about this. But there's a big whale that's starting to buy Athena through the treasury company, right? Okay, so that's another reason why we're actually buying something. 𝗬𝗍. So look, if the market recovers this week, 𝗬𝗍 is another one that's going to recover. Reason why 𝗬𝗍 is going to recover, very simple, right? The intern leaked something. Here it is. This is what the intern leaked. 𝗬𝗍 now listed on Robinhood. Only thing is, it wasn't listed on Robinhood. So the intern had to remove the post. Okay, but 𝗬𝗍 is getting listed on Robinhood. It's getting listed on Robinhood this week, I think. Okay, we know this. Like, yeah, the intern slipped. Okay, they put it up on the foundation. But now if you go to the 𝗬𝗍 foundation, I think it's gone. I think that post is gone. I wonder if the intern's gone, though. I think the intern should also be gone. Yeah, should also be gone. Anyway, so that's another one that I'm looking at. Last one that I'm looking at is actually one called Mantle. Not one that we've spoken about many times before, but definitely one that I want to be speaking about. Why? This is Bybit's layer 2 chain. So up until now, Mantle's been a layer 2 ETH chain. But now what they've done is they seem to have integrated it very much like making it the BNB of Bybit, right? So TLDR for the Mantle AMA, Helen, the 𝗏𝗏𝗀 co-CEO, and Emily, Bybit Spot and Byrill, will be joining Mantle as core contributors. Mantle will be focused on creating industry-grade rails for real-world assets. Bybit will serve as the bridge between Web 2 and Web 3, create. Mantle aims to be the largest ZK secure chain. Mantle utility on Bybit, MNT for Bybit launch projects, MNT in Bybit structured products, MNT OTC portal. Okay, what does that sound like? It sounds like the BNB of Bybit. So it looks like what they're doing is they're pivoting Mantle to become the de facto BNB coin of Bybit. Then you can see that something happened over here, and that's why it all of a sudden doubled, right? Because there's a big push that's happening. There's a big push that's happening right now. There's a big push that's happening right now on Mantle. There was something else that I wanted to say specifically around Mantle. This is again the narrative of exchange tokens, right? So there's OKX, which doubled last week. There's Mantle, which doubled in the last week as well. Remember, I showed you another exchange token called Vision. Remember Vision? Vision is the exchange token of Bitpanda. So here's another one for you. You need to start watching these. Okay, wait. Let's just see if it hasn't done. Okay, so here it is. Vision. It's got a market cap which is much lower. It's fully diluted under $1 billion. It's the same exchange token narrative. Vision, exchange token of Bitpanda. Mantle, exchange token of Bybit. BNB, exchange token of Binance. OKB is this exchange token of OKX. It's the layer 2 and the exchange token. So these are the big narratives that are actually happening. Yeah, so that is pretty much where I'm at. So again, just to recap, before we actually go up into setting a few bots, because I do want to set up a few bots quickly. To recap, I think for now this is a nothing burger. Can this play out to be a much bigger correction? Yes, maybe. And we'll watch the charts very, very, very closely. But right now, I don't see the signs of exuberance. I don't see the signs of breaking down where I'm starting to get stressed, where I'm going, oh my goodness. I'm going to start panicking. This is not that correction. I don't feel panic in the markets right now. I don't see reason to panic in the markets right now. Yes, it could be. Maybe something can happen tomorrow. Who knows? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe Powell will say, look, I'm never, ever, ever reducing interest rates at Jackson Hole. Can't stop saying that. Okay. So that's the story. I'm not too worried at the moment. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about bots. For those of you who want bots, I think based on what I showed you today, there are a couple of bots that we don't have in our arsenal that I want to create. The first bot that I want to create, and by the way, I may actually be able to give away this account today. Let's see if we can actually give away the account today. What I'm going to do, hold on. Okay. Hold on a second. I'm trying to get you guys a giveaway account. Okay, so let me just tell them that I want to do a giveaway account. And we want to set up, based on today's show, there are 2 or 3 bots that I don't have set up in our 𝗫𝗫𝗀𝗃 grid bots, right? So for those of you who haven't been following our 𝗫𝗫𝗀𝗃 grid bots, basically what these bots are is they're bots that make money not only when the market goes up and down, but also in the grids. So like, I'll give you an example. Like, we entered this Pengu trade like here's a good one. We entered this Athena trade at the wrong time, right? We entered when Athena was higher. We entered when Athena was at 75. So we lost money on the Athena trade. But because these bots trade in and out and in and out and in and out. Oh, yeah, I can actually give away the account. What do you know? Hold on. I can actually give you guys the account. Amazing. I can actually give you guys an account today. Amazing. So we've lost money on this trade so far. But because the bot's trading in and out and in and out and in and out all the time, we've made a lot of money on what they call the grid, right? And you can see like here, this Bitcoin trade, the starting price was a bit higher than where we are now. So we lost $36 in the trade. But because the bot's trading in and out on the grids, we've made money on the grids. And that's why I love these grid bots. And so right now, based on the show that I did today, I see that there's 2 or 3 bots that I don't have in my arsenal that I want to create in my arsenal. I want to show you how to do it. And later on, I'll actually leave a link to those bots below, and you can just copy the settings. So the first thing you do, if you want to copy this trade, is go and set up an account on 𝗫𝗫𝗀𝗃. You have to use this link, otherwise you can't copy the bots. And then you can get a sign-up bonus of up to $1,000 by doing that, which is like that's an amazing special. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually set up a grid bot. Now, the grid bot specifically that I want to set up is I want to set up a grid bot on Chainlink, because I don't actually have a very good link, a Chainlink bot. So let me actually show you what I'm going to do now, and then you guys can copy this later on. So I'm going to create a link USDT bot. It's a long bot. Now, it's asking me what is the price range that you want to set this bot up for. So I'm going to take up the link chart, and I want to show you which range I'm actually trying to play here, right? So the range that I'm trying to play here is I'm trying to play, let's just try and get a better chart, hold on. I'm trying to play this range over here. So like from like 21 up to like $40. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to say, look, I want you to actually, let's go from $22 to $40. And I'm going to go with a lot of grids. The reason why I'm going with a lot of grids is because I really want this bot to make money on the grids. And so I'm going to go with 400 grids. Now, what you can see here is that this bot is going to trade in and out and in and out and in and out 400 times on the way up here in these things. Okay, now just an investment amount. I'm going to unclick auto reserve, and you'll see in a second why I've done that. I'm going to put $5,000 into that amount. My liquidation price is $16, which to me is a little bit uncomfortable. So I'm going to add, let me just see what happens if I add $1,000. I'm going to add $2,000 of margin over here. Okay, now $12.75 is half price of Link. It's not going to happen. And I'm not going to put in a stop loss or a take profit. So I've now set up a Link grid bot, which with $5,000 of margin on 3x. In fact, no, let's actually up the leverager. And that might actually change our liquidation price. Actually, yeah, on 5x, and we'll put in an extra $17. Let's just put in an extra $1,000 here. $16. That's fine. We'll watch it very, very, very closely, right? And it's got 400 grids. Now I'm going to create that bot, and that bot is actually going to start trading. So that's the first one that I actually want to set up. Bang, it's already set up. Very, very, very simple. The next one that I want to set up is a Sonic one. So SUSD. By the way, before I do that, let me actually leave a link in the description for anyone who wants to copy that bot. Share Okay, share, no, not profit. Hold on, let's just share. No, hold on, let me just share the link here. So share. Okay, so if you want to copy that, I'm going to put the link. I'm just sending it to Johnny. Johnny's, I'm sure, watching the show. No doubt he's watching the show. Okay, that's the first one. Next one that I want to set up is I want to set up a 𝗖𝗍 bot. And again, the reason here is because if you look at 𝗖𝗍, I think that 𝗖𝗍 could go up now a lot. And I think it's pretty much near its low. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to set up this bot specifically on 𝗖𝗍, right? So I'm going to say, look, the bottom of the range, the place where I want the bot to trade is like 30 cents or 29 cents. And then I want it to trade all the way up, right? So again, I go to futures bot. I set up a grid bot over here. I go, what is it? I'm going USD, 𝗖𝗍 USD. And I'm going to go with a low of 0.29, which means that below that range, you won't get liquidated. It just means the bot stops trading. And then we're going to go all the way up to 0.6 or 0.7. And again, I'm going to go with 400 grids here because I want a lot of grids here. Yes, that's what I want. I want this bot trading like a mofo, in, out, in, out, in, out. Okay, investment. I'm going to go into 5x leverage because that's just who I am. I define myself with 5x leverage. And I'm going to put in 5 grand into that bot over here. Eventually I'm going to run out of money in this account, but for now. Okay, now here, again, I need to put in extra margin. Why? Because I don't want to get liquidated. 22 on 𝗖𝗍 seems like a long way away for now. Yeah, I'm comfortable. Let's put in an extra $500 in margin. Okay, 21 seems good. And again, I just create the bot, and now the bot's actually created. So that's Johnny's watching. Johnny, I know you're watching, sir. So let's quickly just set up that bot, and you can give everybody the settings of that bot. Guys, it's very simple. If you want to copy these bots, all you do is you go to here, and you have to sign up with a link, and then all the bots are here. You just click on that, for example, and it will allow you to just copy the bot, and you can just copy the bot with your own settings. All right, so I mean, should I give away? I've got an account here. Let me show you. I have an account here where in this account I've got $5,000, right? So you see, I've got $5,000. I'm going to set up this account now, and I'm going to take a trade here. I'm going to take a chain link trade, and I'm going to take a 𝗖𝗍 trade. If you sign up to Pinex in the next 30 days and you use the bot, then you stand a chance of winning this account and everything that's in it. So I'm quickly going to open a bot here. I'm going to go with link USDT perp. I'm going to, I don't want to copy, I want to customize. So I'm going to go link USDT perp. My lowest price we said was 20. My highest price was 45. My number of grids was 400. I'm going to put 1,000 of our $5,000 into this bot at 5x leverage. And my liquidation price becomes, let's have a look here. 19, too low for me. So I'm going to put $500 in extra margin. 16, now 16 is good for me. Okay, and I'm not going to put a stop loss. Now you'll see as I create the bot, immediately what this bot is doing is it's putting 51% of the investment immediately into Link, which means I'm holding Link, and the rest going into USDT and then the reserve for whatever it needs money, and it's going to start trading. Now, I'm going to set that up. This is the first bot that I've opened for this account. I'm going to give away this account. To anyone in the next 30 days who opens a Pinex bot and deposits money. You guys are going to be able to get that account. All right, so I will see you guys again tomorrow. Hopefully I'm right. Hopefully this is a nothing burger. If it's not, then we'll deal with what's given to us. Right now, I'm not panicking. As I said, I don't see the signs of panic. I failed to panic sell when I don't actually see the signs of panicking. All right, so see you guys again tomorrow. Until then, trade well, my friends.